Welcome to the Cruise Retreat Podcast. Hi, I'm Rita Perez, and I'm a travel advisor specializing in, you guessed it, cruise ship retreats. This podcast is for service-based entrepreneurs and corporate decision makers to learn more about staying everyone's favorite company with a cruise ship retreat. Ready to increase your client or employee retention? Listen in on this week's show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Of course, I am super stoked to have you on this week's episode because, blow out the confetti, we are celebrating an anniversary. The Cruise Retreat Podcast, formerly known as the Stronger Tides Podcast, is officially 1 year old. Woohoo! Man, what an extraordinary feat. Thank you so much for sticking with me for a year. And man, if we are looking back on a year later, wow, how has the world greatly changed from 1 year ago? 1 year ago, in my full-time job, I was furloughed going back to work, and now I'm full-time entrepreneur. Woohoo! Cruise-wise, we weren't sailing, and this year, now we have ships sailing, not from the U.S. still, but they're open from U.S. passengers. So we are getting closer and closer. I just cannot believe where we are compared to a year ago. Some of the theme parks were starting to open back again. And now even more of the theme parks are opening back up again. But not only that, so many countries are now welcoming back travelers from other countries. Gosh, there's still not so great areas of the world that are dealing with the craziness. But for the most part, it seems like we're definitely heading downhill, and downhill, I mean in a positive direction. Like that curve where we were still in the thick of things, I think we are definitely heading to the thin of things. And man, just so much hope that is going on right now. Little by little, I personally am getting more comfortable traveling out to different places. A year ago, I still am for convenience, ordering groceries and things off of different online directories. But I am more I went to Disney for the first time in over a year this past weekend. I am more apt to do social things than I was before. So it's just getting back to that comfort level. I wouldn't say I'm all out, woohoo, but I am more, or I guess less cautious than I was before, just because the tide is turning, and the tide is turning for the better. I have some really great travel opportunities that I'm hoping to take in this year. Man, and you guys have been so generous with me. I have been taking calls and different emails, doing different chats with so many of you who are interested in booking travel coming up. I have some of you traveling in the fall, which is super exciting. I know we're all ready. We are all ready to get out there. Man, in my business, I just feel so confident in my mission, which has always been people forward, but there is a stronger mission at hand here with Rita Ventures. And it sounds hokey, and I don't really care, because really the mission is to fulfill other people so that they can go ahead and change the world. When we can create intimate relationships with other people, whether they're within our company or clients of our business, those relationships are what really help to expand our minds, expand the explorations that we have, not only, within our own intrinsic selves, but with the places that we're visiting together and the experiences that we're having together. When we're able to relate on that kind of extra level, having traveled together and coming together with similar thoughts, opinions, there is nothing nothing that can combat such a force, really. And seeing those life forces being instilled and created on these cruises and these retreat opportunities that I help to create is just such a huge blessing. And I know I'm in the right place because it just makes my heart so happy. I have a bigger network of awesome people, awesome different business owners that I've met this past year who are so excited about this idea as well and love gushing and talking about either work culture or how your client experiences in your business. So this is definitely in my avenue, and I'm just so blessed. I'm so blessed in so many ways. This past year, I was going to pull some data for you. Okay. So we have had 58 episodes, and this is episode 59. So there's been a couple of bonus episodes, and then we did the cruise retreat series earlier this year. So what have been some of the top episodes? So before we get into that, you know that I have reached like a big milestone, which is 1,000 downloads. I'm sitting at right now over 1,400. I did rebrand the podcast, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. So we started as the Stronger Tides podcast, but I don't really feel like the Stronger Tides, I mean, what does that mean? I had an idea what that means, but when you go to Cruise Retreat Podcast, I feel like you know exactly what that means. So 50-ish episodes later. So what are some of the top episodes? So please dig in because these are also some of my favorite episodes. So number one was, I'm pretty sure that was my first interview ever. And that was with Dr. Belito. She was working on her doctorate degree, and she has since graduated with her doctorate. So congratulations, Dr. Belito. She came on and talked to us about general motivations and how you can look at these different motivations to create a very intentional retreat at sea. Episode 2 was another interview, and that was with one of my good friends, Jesse Belock. And he had just recently graduated with his MBA with a focus on HR. So he had come on to discuss the retreats at sea, but from a corporate HR perspective. Episode 24, cruise ban lifted conditionally. Of course, I know why that's up here. And that was, like, looking back on it, that was November of 2020, right before the election, dun dun dun, and I can't believe that right before an election, that was one of the biggest episodes that was listened to, of course, because it was super awesome news. Episode 16, but why exactly a cruise retreat? And I give so many different reasons, so go ahead, take a look at that. Episode 19, retreats at sea from the COO perspective. I actually have one of my clients come on and talk about the benefits that his company gains from having retreats at sea every year. So another really great one to listen in on. Episode 11 was a showdown episode. Man, I haven't done showdowns in a very long time. Let me know if you're interested in me doing some other showdowns. I compared cruise retreats versus land retreats. Episode 13, value of a travel advisor. Well, I don't think that comes as any surprise, at least not to me, why you should know how valuable working with a travel advisor like myself is. Episode 9, cruise ship safety part 1. Episode 6, another destination showdown that is between the Eastern and Western Caribbean. And episode 2, how cruising can help you conquer your goals. So those are the top 10 episodes: 17, 18, 24, 16, 19, 11, 13, 9, 6, 2. Wow. My goodness. Thank you so much. And that is very interesting too, that a lot of those episodes have a lot to do with the HR side of things. So one of my goals for this next year is to be a little bit open more for the small business side, because I know many of you, especially if you're teaching something, have wanted to, put on a retreat and you just haven't been able to for whatever reason. Maybe you didn't think you were going to be able to. I know a lot of hindrance is with the financial side. So do you want me to talk a little bit more on the financial side? I actually had an episode come out a little bit talking about the financial side. Honestly, I don't really talk about the financial side because even though it is a huge benefit, I really focus on people and the people transformations, the connections. That is, I feel like the connections that you can make with somebody else are so much more important and so much more needed in life than the financials. I mean, we all need finance. We all need money to operate, but I think there is so much more fulfillment by those people interactions, which is why I focus on the people interactions. So, what new content would you like to hear from me on the Cruise Retreat podcast? I have a couple of amazing episodes coming down the pipeline, so please stick with me on that. We're going to be talking about making sure that your retreat at sea or on the river is inclusive, selecting coaches to facilitate your retreats, and digging in a little bit onto the people aspect on the HR side and why it is so important now to get people together, especially after this crazy year that we have had and the new work culture that there is with so many teams having gone remote. That human connection is still important. Of course, you're going to get a little bit via Zoom, but getting in-person relief through these in-person types of events is still going to be really, really crucial, and I think even more crucial than ever before. I also have some cruise line spotlights still coming down the pipeline. So I have another super awesome episode that will be coming in the coming weeks. So as you can see, I'm working on lots of really great content to help you with your cruise retreats, but not also in your cruise retreats, to kind of embetter the experience that you provide, the thought process, or to help with the thought process that you have on land. This is not just about, let's talk about cruise retreats, even though obviously, I can talk about cruise retreats all the time. But let's learn a little bit more about the destination experiences and the onboard experiences and the long-term benefits that this is going to have for your people, whether it is your employees or clients. That's really what this all is about. So if you have any information that you want me to bring on here, I am open to suggestions. I am also open to something that I have been wanting to do, is to have like a small, I don't want to call it an audit, but maybe it's like a small business mastermind session. So if you have ever had an inkling to host your own retreat and have wondered, hey, Rita keeps talking about this cruise retreat thing, like maybe it could work, I would love to record like a session with us where you can really unpack like what your motivations and your goals are. But then also I can see if it's a winner or not for a cruise retreat, because not everything really is meant to be on a cruise retreat. And the same can go for everything. It's not a one size fits all for everybody. And it's going to work really great for organizations who are already people first and are already doing the right things. If people is one of your huge motivations and everything you do is for your people, and you already have great programs to be engaging and nurturing with them, then you're on the right track. So let's have a chatty chat. But yeah, that is it for me. Like, this was really a walk down memory lane. I can't believe it. Like, I'm pretty sure I got this podcast all set up in about 2 weeks, because I was putting it together in the last couple weeks that I was furloughed. I came up with some concepts, bought my microphone. I went ahead and I joined my hosting, and yeah, have not looked back. I really love podcasting and the podcast community, and I really love sharing with you. So, all right, that's enough for, I feel like this is like a tagline. That's what I would love to know. Like, share what are some things like Rita-isms that you always hear me saying, because I'm sure that is one of them. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful week. Thank you so much again for sticking with me this past year of the Cruise Retreat podcast. And I will see you, or you'll hear me next week. Have a great one. Thank you for joining me on the Cruise Retreat podcast. Please subscribe and leave the show a rating on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to take a look at the show notes for important information and links. See you next week.